I was standing on the stage last year and we did a Q&A after doing some of our Ignites. And the question was, what advice would you give us if you were in our shoes again? What would you like to hear? And that's what I said. It really came out of my mouth really quickly. Honestly, a bit of a quick quip combining something that Ellen or Steve Jobs would say. And you know, sometimes you say something, but over the next few months you're like, well, hey, it was great in the moment, but I don't know if I believe it. This is something, though, that over the past year, I've come to realize that I actually really believe in. It's something that I actually like to go ahead and live by every single day. Because it's something you can use when just being friends with somebody, when taking on a risk, traveling the world, or even work. And it's something that I really actually now do believe in. So I wanted to take the opportunity today to break it down a bit. And that's what we're going to do. Let's work backwards through be kind, be curious, be foolish. So let's start. Be foolish. You'll hear a lot about taking risks, learning, trying stuff, and moving forward. I really hope you've got that lesson that it should be encouraged, particularly because I made you jump up and down and stay to Dara in the freezing cold this morning. And you'll get a lot more of that over the next 2 days. Next, be curious. All the best of us are trying to learn, continually improve, and be better. And the only way you can do that is by asking questions, looking out for new opportunities, and asking questions. It's no point just being in a situation that you don't understand and just assuming that you'll pick it up later, because half the time you won't. You need to actually be willing to go and take that extra mile, learn from it, and move forward. Those two you'll hear a lot about every day. But it's the third one, the first one I say there, be kind, that I want to dive into. I've been a UI guide for the past 5 years, just after I became a fellow myself. During that time, I've taken cohorts through this process. And I have to admit, it's one of the hardest roles that you'll ever do. Now, you've probably started to be aware of what a UI guide is, as you probably all had them throughout this program. But for those who may not have a context for the broader world, a UI guide could be considered a mentor, a buddy, a confidant, even a friend. It's somebody who listens, helps you understand where you're heading in life, and gives you direction and question. Honestly, it's harder than I think any job you'll ever do, because in life, most of your jobs, you'll have KPIs. I know, how many people these days turn up at work and know exactly what they need to do? At least in general, you have to go in there, type something in a computer, and hope for the best, right? Well, with a UI guide, none of that matters. Everything goes out the window, because your only task is to enable the people you're working with to be better themselves. And that has no KPI. And sometimes you are going to fail. You don't know how the other person will react. You don't know how people will take on the scenario. And you just have to play it by ear and deal with it every single moment. And that's where you have to be kind to yourself. Because over time, you may come up against a range of failures. You may come and try again and fail to see where the impact is having. I see this too with the number of questions I get from fellows over these past 5 years. The most common question I've had is, but I can't see any of the actual impact that I or my cohort has had in this short amount of time. Who is familiar with that? Does that seem common sometimes? You go through and start failing? How many of your projects that you did in literally that 6 weeks have been finished and or you know that aren't working? Probably sounds very familiar, right? And that's why everybody is trying to be perfect. Everybody wants to have everything work every single moment. A lot of us are perfectionists. You've all gone through uni and assumed that you can get that next mark. You can get that top mark. We're being conditioned to these feelings. But with creating change, it's not like that. And that's, again, where being kind to yourself is really important. Sometimes you have to realize that change doesn't happen overnight. There's a long time horizon for when change can impact. And the best example of this is when you actually change one person's life, whether that be yourself or somebody else. Once that happens, you or them go on to help change 2 other people's lives. maybe 4, maybe 10, and they go on to the next people after that. After a long period of time, you'll have had a compound interest effect on all these people. Now, for your mathematicians and investment people, I'm sure there's a great algorithm and a great graph you can look at. For those nerds, please, we can chat about it afterwards, but we won't go into that today. But overall, it doesn't matter the size of the impact. Like I said, if it's just you, if it's just one other person, doesn't matter. That's all that matters. So, coming back, be kind, be curious, be foolish. Those are the magical 3 things that I love to live by. Trying to improve, trying to help others, and trying to be the best self that you can be. So I challenge you, go out, head back to universities, head back to your workplaces, head back to your friends, and be kind, be curious, and be